Gary, thanks for the kind introduction. Supervisor Carson, Stopway staff, thank you to all of you for your good work. I'm delighted to be here with you this morning to recognize the great work that's been done in this county. And I'm particularly glad because of the title of the event today, Competitive Advantage Through Sustainable Supply Chain. Natural Logic, now in our 11th year, we've been working with companies and government agencies around the country, not doing environmental compliance work, not talking about environment as just a good thing to do, although both of those are true, but really to see sustainability as a source of business advantage, business value, and competitive advantage. So I'm glad to see these themes on the table here today. You may have noticed that the whole conversation about sustainability has really changed substantially in the United States in the past couple of years. We flagged 2005 as the tipping point. That year, General Electric announced their Eco-Imagination program. Walmart put out notice to their then, 61,000, now 100,000 suppliers that it expected them to step up to the bar around sustainability. Walmart itself had set goals of 100% renewable energy and zero waste and only sustainable products on their shelves. And that got attention throughout the business value chain across the country and across the world. In our own experience, we assess the trends by the kinds of questions that our clients are asking us. And in the past year, again and again, clients are not asking about the mechanics of programs. They're not asking about the business case. They're saying things like, we think we need an enterprise-wide sustainability strategy that is integrated with our business. And that's a profoundly different request than we were getting just 2 years ago, and it's really a marker of the times we're in. One element that we're seeing again and again from companies, both those in the room here and those we work with around the country, is the notion of zero waste, not just waste reduction, but zero waste. Why? Well, because if you look at the 3.8 billion years of experience of living systems and how do you run productive and adaptive and effective enterprises, there's no waste in nature. All waste is the food or feedstock of something else. But from a business perspective, companies are looking at the question and saying, well, we can't figure out how much waste is okay. So let's go to none. DuPont was one of the pioneers of this almost 15 years ago. After reducing their waste stream nearly 70%, they regrouped in 1995 to set their next goals, and the only number they could think of that made any business sense for them was zero. So that company is now operating with a corporate goal of zero waste, zero injuries, and zero defects. And it's a tall bar to climb over, but it's something that we need to be thinking about whatever businesses we're in, whatever scale of business we're in. Stop waste, of course. The drivers on this are multiple. Walmart, as I mentioned before, is one. A growing awareness of climate change is another. But the examples of successes, companies that have effectively made dramatic changes and done it profitably, is a powerful driver as well. Stop Waste has been a leader in this, and you see the evidence of that in the awards that have been presented today. And if I may speak for Stop Waste for a moment, I think there's been a real evolution in your work over the more than 10 years, I guess, 15, 18 years now the agency's been in existence. We've had the pleasure of working with Stop Waste over the past 8 to 10 years, and we've seen an evolution moving from waste prevention to a broader perspective on supply chain and the overall sustainability of the enterprises, a recognition that waste isn't just what happens at the end of your process when you figure out how to ship it off to landfill or recycle it. Waste is created when you buy. Your procurement decisions determine some of the waste that you're going to generate. Your operating decisions along the way determine what the waste is going to be. And so Stop Waste has been a real leader in moving that conversation upstream and helping companies really gain leverage on how to do that effectively. Today we have the wonderful opportunity to hear from two leaders among leaders in this work. I'd like to bring them up to the stage. I'll introduce them. Ask them to share some brief remarks with you of their perspective on what they've done and why they've done it and how. And then we'll have a question and answer session. I'll be asking some questions from here, and I'd like to ask all of you to contribute your questions as well. You have cards on your table. If you just write down your questions on those cards and hold them up in the air, Stop Waste staff will collect them and bring them up to me. So Robert and Mike, you want to come up to the stage? welcome, gentlemen. As Senior Director, Robert Gotto leads the environmentally preferable purchasing program for Kaiser Permanente, improving the environmental and health impact in the $14 billion of products that Kaiser purchases annually. And so you can start to think about the leverage of a request out to a supply chain that large and what their suppliers will need to do for them and what their suppliers' suppliers will need to do for them. Robert has instigated industry-wide collaboration because we find often individual companies can't do this by themselves, and increasingly we're seeing companies working not just with their supply chain but with their competitors to raise the state of play for everyone. Before joining Kaiser Permanente, Robert was senior manager at Bearing Point, working with major U.S. and European companies on strategic sourcing. He worked with Honeywell on design, engineering, and supply chain roles, has an MA in engineering and other studies at Cambridge University. And Robert, welcome this morning.
Thank you.
And Mike Hannigan is president and co-founder of Give Something Back, a company that I know many of you also know, California's largest business-to-business office supply company. Started in 1991, inspired by the Newman's Own food company. Company profits from Give Something Back are donated to nonprofit groups selected by customers and employees of the company. Give Something Back was named Corporate Grant Maker of the Year in 2003 and Small Business of the Year nationally in 2005. They're a certified green business, a founding B Corp company, and have recently put a 50-kilowatt solar installation on their Oakland headquarters. Mike has a BA in philosophy from the University of California, San Diego, and a master's in criminology from UC Berkeley. So, Mike, welcome to you as well. So let me ask each of you, Robert first, and then Mike, spend a few minutes to give us an overview of what you've been doing to build a sustainable supply chain for your company.
Sure. Thanks, Gil. So I work with Kaiser Permanente, just a couple of blocks away, and as Gil said, we spend about $14 billion a year on various products. We're a $40 billion revenue organization, a non-profit organization, about 180,000 employees, most of them here in California, and a healthcare organization. And with that, you know, a lot of responsibility with an organization that size and a healthcare company to think about the environmental impact. But because we're a healthcare company, you know, in particular, we put a very close connection between human health and environmental health. And I guess a good example of that is some of the medical products we bring in. So we bring in a lot of tubing, like IV tubing that we use within the medical facility. And we have vulnerable populations, such as in the neo-intensive care unit and the pediatric unit, young children. And we have certain products, and some of this tubing is made of PVC. It contains plasticizers like DHP, and the FDA have made recommendations that sometimes this DHP can actually it's a chemical that can actually leak into the fluid and actually go into the patient. PVC also, when it's incinerated, creates toxin, which is the most toxic substance known to man. So you've got one product there that through the waste stream and when it's actually disposed is creating a byproduct that's pretty bad, but also it's causing immediate impact on the patient as well, potentially in terms of long-term health. So a very close connection between human health and environmental health. So for Kaiser Permanente, we very much are aware of that, very much understand a lot of the issues of the products we're bringing into the facility. And but it's a big challenge. We bring in 200,000 different units into our medical facilities every week, and those are just the commonly purchased products. There's a whole vast number of other products that we best buy on a one-off basis. So it's a big challenge. But we've had a formal environmental stewardship council in place since 2001. But we've had an awful lot of informal grassroots activities before that. So in 1999 we actually collaborated with Catholic Healthcare West and some of our other healthcare systems, as well as some non-profit organizations, to drive the market towards, to move away from mercury products. So to move away from mercury thermometers to the kind of thermometers you see that are typically used in the industry today. And Kaiser Permanente was a key leader in helping drive that move. I mean, mercury is a recognized neurotoxin. It's a product you really don't want to be using. And we managed to find an alternative product that didn't have mercury, was clinically comparable or superior, and also there wasn't a cost increase either. So it was a great solution for everybody. So just an example of some of the things we've been doing over the period of time. And So how we look at it is we really break it down into 4 areas. We look at waste reduction. We look at energy reduction and the climate change impact. We look at nutrition, because within our hospitals we provide an awful lot of meals to our patients every day. We also have a lot of vending machines. And if you've been to our facilities, you'll see a lot of farmers markets outside of our facilities. And then the 4th area is toxins. So we have an environmental policy that we put in place in 2005, and it defines 10 high-priority toxic chemicals that we want to start eliminating from our products. And we've got executive committees around all of these areas, so teams formed across the organization targeting these areas, and they've set baselines and metrics around how to track these things. So we've now got 10 high-priority products that we're trying to targeting, and we've got a commitment by 2013 to eliminate the toxic and environmental issues within these 10 products. And it includes products such as cleaning chemicals and paints and some products that you may have in your organizations, as well as some of these other things around IV tubing and some of the things more specific to healthcare. So products that we see have a big human health impact, but as well as a large environmental health impact. Some of the things we've been doing, we just last week launched a new what we call it's a product level disclosure document. So Gil mentioned about some of the things Walmart are doing. They launched a new disclosure process that 100,000 of the suppliers had to report back to this month in terms of their environmental performance. We actually last week launched something that this is actually at the product level. So when a supplier responds with a pricing proposal, they have to specify the chemicals in their products and the recycling capability and the reusable capability within these products, and that gets fed into the decision-making process of the contract award. I mean, this is a massive, massive step forwards. But it's taken us years to build the infrastructure within Kaiser that we've got over 600 clinicians involved in sourcing and product evaluation teams making decisions about the right products. And prior, they were very focused on what's the clinically appropriate product and can we get the cost down? Now they're focused on what's the clinically appropriate product, can we get the cost down, and can we make a good environmental choice? And so we've got a fantastic infrastructure and a very powerful group there that are now very focused on this, and they have the data. They have the data in front of them to make the right decision, and it's going to be a fantastic tool to really to move this very quickly. So we're also working with some of our major suppliers. So Boston Scientific, Carl Zeiss are here today. They're two of our major suppliers that we work with. We've got 8 suppliers in the medical space that probably account for about a third of our overall medical spend, because there's some pretty big players like Covidien and Johnson & Johnson and companies like this. And we've been working with them over a period of about 3 years now. We have suppliers scorecards that we put in place with them, and they have environmental goals. And so one of the 5 criteria on that scorecard is environmental goals that they drive. I'll just take Covidien as an example. So within the last 3 years, they have hired an environmental person specifically to focus on environmental programs for their customers such as us. The Covidien representative that supports the Kaiser account is now on the executive committee for Covidien, guiding Covidien on what their customers are wanting in terms of environmental needs. And they've committed to 6 environmental goals this year. Some of them are eliminating a lot of the paperwork that comes with the packaging. A lot of the products that they ship to us, just getting rid of the paperwork and providing the information online instead of that. Some of it is actually changing packaging to lighter packaging that doesn't contain PVC. They're also helping us switch from new products to remanufactured, reusable products. So they're able to take back products and remanufacture and reuse them. So there's a lot of different environmental programs that we're running with a lot of our suppliers. And I have to say, 2 years ago, when we spoke to them about these things, they kind of looked back at us a little blankly. But I have to say, a lot of it over the last 2 years, just seeing a lot greater awareness from our supply base about what the importance of this, how important it is to the customers, and how to approach these things. So now we've got a number of goals that we're working with our supply chain.
Thank you.
Some good examples.
That's great. And what a world of opportunity. I know you have many more that you could go on with.
Yeah.
But it's a great start, and it gives us a perspective not just of the specific things you're doing, but the way that you're looking at the opportunity and building that into your business. Thank you. Mike?